Hey, Patrick here with an update on the project I'm working on right now. Today we're going to take a look at this control panel design that I'm working up here in Fusion 360. And my goal was to build a little library of parts that make up the components of this control panel, so I can move the components around, try different design ideas, and just generally iterate towards a control panel that I like. So the first step for me was to try to understand how these controls were going to feel. Like how are they laid out under my hands and under my fingers, and do they feel comfortable and natural? And the quickest way I found to explore those ideas was to create the designs here in Fusion 360 and then print those designs out at actual size on paper. And then I can just put the paper down on my workbench and try the layouts out, put my fingers over where the controls are going to be, and just feel in the real world like what the spacing of the buttons feels like. For now, I think I'm going to try this design with the joysticks and the buttons up here in the front of the control panel, because eventually I think I want to have the screen like right up near the backside of the control panel, almost like a laptop kind of thing. So this is the design that I want to prototype today. So I'm going to head out to the workshop and we're going to start cutting some parts. So I'm still working with plywood as the prototyping material, and I did get the right bit. So now instead of the upcut bit that tears off the top layers of the plywood, I've got a downcut bit, which should prevent that from happening. And you can see already the cuts are a lot cleaner. And this is shaving off exactly 1/8 of an inch so we can fit the control panel in here. Putting a little bevel on the edge, and oh, you have to listen to this. This is great. Now for the control panel, I'm working with some aluminum sheet. I just love this material. I'm really excited about using it for the control panel, and I love the way that it looks with the wood. So I think that's just going to be a really fantastic combination. Now I made a mistake here because I took the aluminum off of the CNC thinking I was done, but I had forgotten to drill these 4 holes around this joystick cutout. So this is re-indicating the piece to that hole so that I can accurately drill these mounting points around it. So that was crisis averted. All right, so here's the completed prototype plywood box and aluminum control panel. And yeah, let's see how these things fit together. And that is a really nice, clean, perfect press fit. Now, since this is kind of a small control panel, I'm going with the 25mm buttons. They're a little smaller than full-size arcade buttons, but I think for this size control panel, they're just perfect. I'm going to use these for my start and select buttons. I've also got this really nice arcade-style joystick with the little clicky micro switches on it, so it's got that really nice tactile feedback to it. This is a cool thing I found. It's a quick-release joystick handle, and I thought this would come in handy if I end up making this thing into kind of a laptop form factor with a fold-down screen. So you can just kind of remove the joystick handle and fold the screen down and maybe store it in a little side pocket or something. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, so the next thing we have to do is get this control panel wired up. So I'm putting together a wiring harness for the controller. This is going to be the ground line that'll connect all the pins on all the buttons to ground. Not a lot to say about this part of the process. It's a lot of cutting and stripping and crimping of wires, so we'll just speed through it. This is a handy little Lego kit of parts that makes it easy to build pin header receptacle plugs. So you can just crimp these little connectors onto the ends of wires and snap them into these housings, and you get these nice custom plugs that you can then connect to an Arduino. So we've got our cable made. Let's get the pin headers soldered onto this Arduino. This is just an off-the-shelf Arduino Pro Micro, and I'm running the Demon Byte arcade encoder firmware on it. You can download this on GitHub. It's an ultra-low latency encoder that gets signals from the joystick and the buttons to the game hardware really, really fast, less than a millisecond. All right, well, after all that tedious wiring, it is time to finally hook all this stuff up and see if it works. So I'm just going to get everything wired up here and we'll give it a test run. I'm a big fan of the Neo Geo arcade system, so of course we've got to try out a classic Neo Geo game to test this thing out with, some Metal Slug. All right, so everything is working as expected. I have a working prototype. Now I think the next step is just to spend a little time playing around with it, getting a feel for it, seeing what I like, seeing what I don't like, and then maybe iterate on the design a little bit and see if there are any improvements I want to make before committing to the final design. But as a prototype, I think this process has been really successful, and I'm excited to take the design to the next step. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.